Today we're going to look at a couple of skills that will help us as we move towards being able to factor all kinds of polynomials, even more than just being able to take out the greatest common factor. So tonight what we're going to look at are these mystery diamond problems, and here is how they work. I'm going to show you how they work. We'll do a couple together, and then you're going to do the rest yourself. So these diamond problems work together in kind of a specific way. We are going to have two numbers, and let's call this number A, and let's call this number B. The way that it works is we are trying to determine what these two side numbers are, or they might give you two different pieces and you have to figure this out. But this is the relationship between the two side numbers. When I multiply this number times this number, they are going to equal A. When I add these two numbers, they are going to equal B. And so that's the way that it is always going to work. The two numbers on the side multiply up and they add down. And so, for example, I could set one up. I don't usually draw the little box on the outside. I just put the X from the middle. So let's say that I had, let's start with just the side numbers. If I had 6 and 7, the way that I would figure out the top number is I would multiply 6 times 7, which would be 42. And the way that I would figure out the bottom number would be to add 6 plus 7, which is going to be 13. And so this would be the diamond that I'm looking for, with a top number that's 42, a bottom number that's 13, and 6 and 7 on the sides. Now, more than likely what we're going to be looking at is we're going to instead have our numbers on the top. So let's say that I have 10 and I have the number on the bottom 7. And so what I'm trying to figure out is I need two numbers so that this times this equals 10 and that this plus this equals 7. And so if you kind of think about that for a second, you might come up with the numbers 2 and 5. And we know that those work because 2 times 5 equals 10 and 2 plus 5 equals 7. So let's look down at number 1 and number 2. Go ahead and put the video on pause for a second and try the first two, and then come on back and check your answers in just a second. So if I look at number 1, 8 and 6, I need to think of numbers that multiply to 8. So 1 times 8, but 1 plus 8 would give me 9, so that doesn't work. I could do 2 times 4, and if I check that, 2 plus 4, that does equal 6. And so 2 and 4 are the numbers that should go on the sides. Now number 2, they gave us the side numbers instead. So to figure out the top number, we multiply negative 4 times 7 is negative 28, and negative 4 plus 7 is 3. And so those are answers. You have 6 more that you need to do before you come to class. Pay careful attention to things like when you're multiplying a negative. If I am going to multiply two numbers to give me negative 20, I know that one has to be positive and one has to be negative. That's the only way I'm going to multiply to a negative. But with positives, remember, we could multiply two positives or we could multiply two negatives. And so that's what I want you to think about tonight, is to try and come up with the rest of the values for these diamonds so that we can keep moving forward tomorrow.